Welcome to Bytes of Code. In this video, we're going to be finishing our Guess My Number game. Technically, we already have a game that we can give to somebody, a game to play, but we're going to take a look line by line and make sure that we understand what the code is doing. So let's start. The first line, line number 1, import random. This is going to be a library that we're importing. It's very important to have this library because we are later going to use this function, a function randint, from this library called random to generate a random number. That is something that we want to do at the very beginning. We want to set all of our imports at the very beginning so that when we use them, we don't have to worry that Python will throw an error that they're not defined. We know they're defined because we've set all of them in the beginning. The line number 3 is just a print. This is how we show text to a user. So how to show text to a user is print, print, open parentheses, and a single quotation, then whatever you want to type, your text, close it with one more quotation mark, and again with a closed parentheses. That's how we show text to the user. Next, we generate our random number. We're using a variable here. This could be named anything. In this case, we name it my random number. And this is going to hold an integer. The integer is going to be the result of using randint. This is from our library, random. A function called randint is in that library, and that's what we're going to use. We give it some parameters. In this case, the parameters are the minimum numbers to the maximum number that can be randomly generated. And with this range, we now have a generated random number of 1 to 100. In this line, we're actually printing our random number. We're going to get rid of this. We don't want the user to see what the random number is because that would just give them the answer. We talk about if conditions. These are different types of if conditions. And in line 23, we have a new variable, Boolean variable. This variable is only going to be true or false. In this case, we're going to use this to detect if the user was correct or not. We're going to assume at the very beginning that he's not correct, so that everything will kind of just flow as if the user was not correct because it's really his first time. But we will use this later to identify when the user finally guessed the right answer. Times to guess. This is going to be our maximum number of times that we get the user to guess before we tell them that it is game over, that they lose. So in this case, they only have 7 times. You want to make it a little harder of a game, you can do it a little less times to guess. Easier of a game, put a little more. This is going to be a tracker, another integer variable, a tracker to see how many times the user has guessed, because we're going to want to keep track to make sure that they are not guessing past our maximum number of guesses. So what this is going to be kind of a counter. We're just keeping track of how many times the user has guessed. We're going to be adding 1 to this every time we tell the user to guess again. This is going to be our while loop. So while loop is made by using the word while and then a condition, just like an if statement. In this case, we're saying if is guess correct equal to false, and because we can have ands, we can have multiple conditions. So is guess correct is false, and the times user has guessed was less than, really should be the times to guess. So if these two are correct, these two are true, user guessed correct is false, and the user is guessing less than the maximum number of guesses, then let's use this while loop. We enter into this while loop. We can tell this while loop ends here, the condition. So right after this colon is going to be actually the code for the while loop. We add 1 to the times user has guessed to keep track. We ask the user, please type a number. This is actually the only time we're really getting input from a user. This is how we get text from the user, is the word input. And this is a prompt. This could be nothing. This could be blank, or this could have a message. This is just something to tell the user right before they're going to be inputting text, because this user guess is a variable also, but it's a variable of string. And because of that, we need line number 33. we need this user guess to be converted from a string to an integer. Then we assign a new variable, user guess integer, just to kind of make sure we have a separation. We've created two variables, user guess and user guess integer. And now every time we use a condition in our if statement, we're checking against user guess integer. Because if we checked against the user guess, we would start to come up with some errors, because random number is integer, user guess is a string. So we want to make sure that we're comparing two of the same variable types. So integer and integer. Now we have good variables to compare. All these if conditions are just going to be checking first if the user was right, if the user was wrong. If the user was right, we want to make sure, this is very important, that we finally switch our flag is guess correct equal to true. Elif is just an else. If the user guess is not equal, we print you have guessed wrong, and we just kind of make sure that the is guess correct equal to false. This is kind of just a safety. It's not really needed because at this point we know that the user guess correct would be false, but we're just kind of making sure and setting it again. Now if the guess is wrong, if you guess correct is equal to false, we enter this section of if conditions. First we check if the user guess is greater than the random number, then we tell the user it's too high. Else if the user guess is lower than my random number, then we print too low. But either way, we print you have guessed, and then we print the variable the times the user has guessed. And this is, oh, we have one more. Line 55. This is the end of our game. This is outside of the while loop. So what would happen here is the while would be finished. There's no more code in the while loop, or the code in the while loop has met a condition where it's now exiting the while loop. At the very last of our program, our game, we check if the times the user has guessed is equal to the times they're allowed to guess, or the maximum times of 7, then we know that this was their final guess. That, along with the combination of having a wrong guess. So if the times to guess is equal to the maximum times to guess, and the guess correct is still equal to false, we know that this is a combination of losing. So we print, wow, you lose. And this is our guess my number game in Python. You can make it a little more complicated. This is kind of fairly complicated for a basic guess my number game, but it uses a lot of techniques and different types of code that hopefully you can learn from, because we will continue to use these if conditions, while loops, variable types. It's very important, not just in this very simple game, but usually in most programs, especially object oriented. So the last thing we're going to do is actually make a little bit of art. I use this one. I just Google text to ASCII art converter. I come up with this. I just want kind of a title, and instead of saying welcome to guess my number, we're going to just paste what this text art is copied in our clipboard, and we'll notice we get an error. It says end of line while scanning string literal. Kind of a weird error, the first time we're going over it, but what this really means is that there's kind of some weird funky stuff going on in this text, and it doesn't really know, Python doesn't know what to do with it. So how to put special characters or special spaces in print is using not one apostrophe or quotation mark, but use three quotation marks. And just let's paste our text back in there, and what we'll see is that Python actually understands now that there are special characters in the text. Well, I really hope you enjoy watching this video. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section. This is going to be one playlist for Guess My Number. If this is your first time watching this, then this is a continuation of a couple videos onto making this game, Guess My Number. If you have any requests for any other types of games or technologies that you would like to see, you're interested in, maybe you need help a little bit to understand a certain language, please let me know. Do not be afraid to type a comment or to reach out to me. Well, one thing that I wanted to point out was my new website, and I'll put a link in the description. This is going to be a website just to help people if they're interested in mentorship sessions. So if you're interested in setting up something to kind of mentor you through some sort of programming issue, or you're just wanting to learn a little bit more, these are online sessions over Zoom, one-on-one. And also, maybe if you're not really sure this is something you'd be interested in, there's a free 30-minute online mentor session for the first time. So if you have any bugs, or you have any features you're having trouble putting in your program, or just questions over homework from school or a problem at work, feel free to reach out to me. We can talk about mentor sessions and what we can do. Of course, this website also has the latest videos for the YouTube. If you're not subscribed, then you can still go here and see what's new. But if you are subscribed, please subscribe. But again, thank you guys for spending time to take a look at this video, taking a look at this tutorial for Guess My Number. Hopefully you've learned a lot from it. If you have any questions again, or you want to reach out about anything, please leave a comment in the comment section. I will reply. But thank you guys again, and I hope to see you at the next video.